What's up, guys? Manic here from Manic Conspiracies. Today we're going to be talking about the Redwood cabin mystery, okay? And this really fascinates me. So Mark Andre was marking trees in one of the most remote spots in California's Redwood coast, USA, when he spotted a lonesome shack. The sturdy structure had measured around 8 by 12 feet wide and around 15 feet high, so it's not a very big thing at all. He immediately recognized that it was no ordinary campsite. There was no fire, there was no waste or evidence that anyone had been there previously. The man quickly realized that there was something out of the ordinary, and he headed back to seek assistance from professionals. So he got the park ranger and, another authority to come back with him. He got the forest technicians and a park ranger. They revisited it. The group decided that if someone had been living in there, there could be a chance they were incapacitated or worse, so leaving them would be very irresponsible. But after multiple attempts to reach anyone that would be in there, the group decided to just break the lock. So they did. They broke the lock, and inside they discovered the tiny home vacated, but some of the possessions amazed them. Neat shelves had been built with a number of jars and cans organized to perfection. There was also a rocking chair posed in the corner accompanied by a pot-bellied stove, vintage typewriter, small library. Thick curtains and small wooden panels covered the window to keep out light. Whoever had lived in the building had been self-sufficient for a number of years, but little identification papers could be found. So as a result, the only action they could take was to leave an eviction notice. So they left the eviction notice, but authorities returned to see out the contract, to see, hey, this is the eviction notice, do you understand it? So, this stuff, probably seeing if, they were packed up and getting ready to move. Well, they went back and mysteriously, literally, the entire thing was gone. Like, they had packed up this little cabin and it's gone. Like, they have no idea where this little cabin went, which blows my mind because it's a cabin. So clearly, whoever made it didn't want to be found. They never actually knew who built this cabin, who lived in this cabin, why they lived in the cabin. Again, they were self-sufficient, so they didn't need a lot of shit. But the only thing that was left was a charcoal symbol left on the ground, often associated with squatters. So that's kind of interesting. But literally all the contents, including any trace that anyone had even been there, just vanished. So I'm going to show you guys a picture of the Redwood cabin because it's very interesting to me, and then I'm going to kind of like tell you guys what I think. So this right here, if it's gonna pull up, right here is the cabin. So as you can see, this is, it's just a very tiny cabin. This was the front of it. This was the inside. So you see the jars of everything. It's clear that they had been there for a while. So my theory on this is, for one, it's someone who didn't want to be found. That leads me to believe, because there are so many unsolved murder cases and serial killer cases out there, it could have been somebody who was a murderer or a serial killer who had been hiding out there. I mean, it's in the middle of the woods, nobody's gonna find you, and most of the time, I'm sure somebody had stumbled across this cabin before, but they probably just assumed, oh, I might be on somebody's property, or, oh, it's probably just like a random cabin, a shed or something, right? Which gave this even more leeway to me to believe that there could have been somebody in there who, didn't want to be found. And that's the thing, if you didn't want to be found, there's obviously a reason for it. If you're running and you just pick up and leave, like this whole cabin just vanished. I mean, how does that happen? So I personally, with everything, the facts, the pictures, and the fact that it just vanished, I think that it was somebody who was either a murderer or a serial killer, which can be considered the same thing. But in my opinion, you know, there are so many different unsolved murders that and unsolved mysteries that we don't know. You know, the Zodiac Killer is a very famous serial killer who still has not been found. Jack the Ripper has still not been found. You know, there's lots of different serial killers and murderers who haven't been found, and it's not so crazy to think that they would be hiding in a cabin in the woods for years. I mean, they had everything they needed, you know? So, and who knows? They could have been watching, you know, from 50 some yards away or however far away. They could have been watching in those woods as those people were entering their cabin, and, you know, that could be also why. You know, so it's very interesting to me because it was a small cabin and somebody had been living there for years, Why would you live in a cabin in a wood for years? Unless you're like me and you wanted to buy a camper at one point and live in the woods to search for the truth. But, nope, I don't think this one's one. So, like and subscribe as always to make videos all the time. Let me know down below in the comments, you know? What do you guys think? Do you think this was just a homeless squatter? Or do you think that there's something more to this? And you think that he didn't want to be found or she didn't want to be found? So let me know. Peace out.